Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's Wraith here, back with another video. Now, today's a big day. If you guys don't know, Chapter 2, Season 2 just got released, which basically means a bunch of new things, new weapons, new arena, well, not new arena, but reset arena points, and a bunch of different things. If you guys haven't read the patch notes, I'll leave a picture on the screen right now of just a couple things that got changed. Obviously, that's not all of them. That's just kind of what we know as of right now. If you guys know anything else that hasn't been put on the screen, let me know down in the comments below. And also, let me know if you guys think this season looks pretty good or if it doesn't look good. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it looks really good for a content creator's perspective. Like, I think I could make a bunch of videos on it, and it looks a lot more interesting than just Chapter 2, Season 1, where there wasn't many things to do. Comp-wise, I don't think it's the best thing, but hey, that's just my opinion. But that's it. Basically, we're going to be talking about how to perform in Arena and get to Champions League as quick as possible and get as many points as possible. If you're looking forward to this video, make sure you slap a like button on it, comment what you want to see for a future video, hit that subscribe button, and please make sure you guys are using creator code WraithFN while buying the Battle Pass. It supports me a ton, and if you've ever really learned something from my videos, just please, if you don't mind, throw WraithFN in the item shop. But let's get right into today's video. So for my first tip for Arena from this season, and if you guys haven't noticed, it looks like it's going to be a complete W key season, and W keying is rewarded because they've vaulted traps, they've added back in the heavy sniper, and basically the drum gun and things like that, which basically will allow people to push into other guys' boxes and just deal as much damage as possible, as soon as possible, without the kind of worry of getting trap killed, because now it is the W key meta, in my opinion. We'll obviously see in the coming weeks if it is the W key meta, but in my opinion, I think it's going to be. So the first thing to do is, when you hop in Arena, is practice your W keying and just W key as much as possible. When you're at a low points, Fortnite doesn't get mad at you and you don't lose points for dying. So if you W key as much as possible, and even if you die almost every single 3 kills you get, so let's say you die on your 3rd or 4th kill, no big deal, just hop back in and W key again. Not only is it a really good form of practice because you're learning how to W key efficiently, you're killing people, and you're learning, even if you die, you learn how you died and what you did wrong while you're W keying that person. So it basically just helps overall your practice, as well as it helps you get past those 3k, 3,000 points-ish area and get up there really quickly. If you're just playing endgame every single game, even though you're only at 50, 100 points, 1,000 points, well, it's going to take you a long time. But if you're W keying, it will help you get past that first couple stages really, really quickly. Now, like I said, it doesn't really matter if you die. Just hop back into a new game and just W key. Use it as practice, use it as a learning experience, as well as to get a couple points early on. So now my second tip is, once you start getting a little bit higher in points, and I'm going to guess and say it's going to be around the 3,000, 4,000 point range, but again, it all kind of depends on how good you are and how many people are playing Arena. But basically, once you get to that higher point range where you feel like people are actually getting good and they start taking fights more seriously, and you can't just stomp over everyone, or you can't kill a lot of people, and hey, that might be at 1,000 points, that might be at 5,000 points. It all depends on how good you are. It doesn't matter if it's at 1,000 points, just change up your playstyle a little bit. And I basically mean is, once you start feeling like kids are a little bit good and you can't W key as much, start reeling it in and playing a little bit more passive. Once you play a little bit more passive, I'm not saying don't fight anyone and just completely play for the win. I'm just saying don't W key every single person you see. Like, if you see someone and zone's far away, or you're low HP or something like that, which I'll touch on in a bit, just don't worry about it. Just move on and play a little bit more for placement. Like I said, it doesn't mean just don't stop W keying and don't stop fighting. I'm just saying maybe reel it back a little bit and play a little bit more, focus on towards placement and a little bit more towards gaining points rather than getting kills. So now for my third tip, and this is really relative towards any point range that you're at. You can be at 20 points, you can be at 4,000 points. But just be aware of hot dropping. Now, I know a lot of you guys might be like, well, you said W key, get as many kills as possible, improve, become the best player, win a World Cup, right? But basically, hot dropping has its pros, but it has its cons as well. When you're hot dropping, yes, you're going to have a lot of people there. So if you get really lucky and you get shield right off the bat, you get a shotgun, you get an AR, you get an SMG, and you feel good, well then yeah, you're probably going to get a lot of kills, right? But unfortunately, a lot of the time you won't get a shotgun or you won't get a lot of HP, and you're going to have to fight a lot of people right off spawn where you don't have any mats, and it's kind of just an RNG fest where you can't really control the outcome. Even at low point ranges with not the best players, it's still sometimes super annoying when you hot drop just because there's so many things that can go wrong, and even if you're the best player in the world, it is hard. Now, obviously, you can hot drop. I'm not saying don't hot drop. I'm just saying be aware, especially when you get to the higher end points like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000-ish, that if you start to hot drop or you are hot dropping, that it's going to become harder and harder because the players are going to be better and better, and then it's just going to turn into an RNG fest, and you can't really control the outcome of any RNG fest. Now, obviously, the best players will be able to win off spawn a majority amount of the time, but there still are going to be the games where you're going to lose. So personally, in my opinion, I recommend dropping, like, especially when you're at the lower point range, is dropping like the second or third POI on the map, like not right off the spawn, but like the second or third POI where there's still a good amount of people, but maybe not a ton. And then once you get to that higher point range, like 4,000, 5,000-ish, or whatever it might be for you, 2,000, 3,000, start landing at your normal spot. So for example, if you land Holly Hedges in tournaments or Craigie or wherever it is, start landing there again and focus more on still W key and still getting kills, but playing more of the placement, and then you don't have to worry about off spawn RNG as much. Now, my next tip kind of relates to the off-spawn hot dropping, but not really at the same time, and it's basically try your best to avoid 50-50 fights. 50-50 fights are never good, and yes, even if you're the best player in the world, and it's a 60-40 fight or a 70-30 fight, like, and I'm talking percentage-wise, even though you're better than the other player, you never know what can happen. That kind of goes back to the RNG fest, where basically if you're landing on the same chest as someone else, even though like most people know that the weapon spawns on the right side and you have scroll wheel, the other person might know that as well and have scroll wheel as well. So it's not guaranteed that you're going to get the gun every single time, as well as sometimes not only off spawn chest, but if you loot one house and then push the other person right away, it's kind of a 50-50 because you guys both could have all right weapons and maybe low HP, low mats, which I'll talk about in my next tip. So just be aware of the 50-50 fights where you can't really control things, because obviously even if you're a better player, yes, the odds are a little bit more in your favor, but there's still tons of times where the other person, even if they're the worst player, when it's a 50-50 fight or 60-40 fight or whatever the case is, they can take advantage and win the fight. So for my next tip, and again, it's kind of related to the 50-50, but it's play smart. Now, at the earlier point stage, you can get away with a little bit more things. You can push people with low HP, low mat, stuff like that, because you don't really have to worry about them being a good player, or well, they might be, but for the majority of people, they're not going to be a good player. Although once you slowly start moving up in the point range, it's going to get harder and harder, and the people are going to be a little bit better every time you get up. So you got to play it smart. Maybe when you get to like 3,000 point ranges, you can't W key people as much if you're at low HP, or you don't have as much mats, or you don't have a shotgun. Like early low points off spawn, if I have an SMG with 50 shield and I'm at 1,000 points, yeah, I'm gonna feel confident going into a fight. But if I'm at 5,000 points or 4,000 points with an SMG and 50 shield, I don't feel as confident, because I know if someone has a shotgun and they got shield as well, I'm most likely dead, because normally they'll be a good enough player to take me down. Also, be aware of your mat count. Try not to take a fight if you're under 150 mats, no matter what point range you're at. So just be a little bit smarter. You can get away with things more at lower point range. Just be aware what point range you're at, and you got to play a little bit smarter when you get higher. So for my last tip, it's basically rotate as early as possible. That way you don't get like stuck in the storm, or you don't get focused by a lot of the lobby or people. Yes, I know they have added a little bit more mobility, like they added launch pads into Arena, as well as that mythic grappler. I don't know how many there will be on the map, or if there's only one, or whatever the case is. It still is super important to rotate as early as possible, just so you don't get held and you don't get focused by the entire lobby. But yeah, that's basically it for today's video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you slap a like button on it, comment what you want to see for a future video, hit that subscribe button, and please, if you guys don't mind, use creator code WraithFN for buying the battle pass or in the item shop, and I'll